Greetings everyone, this is Longnu. Welcome to Spiritual Science. And now I will talk about Mahayana Buddhism and kind of the spiritual meaning and practices of what it entails. So I'm going to lay down the foundation of Mahayana Buddhism to try to give you a brief summary of the spiritual beliefs and what it means. Alright, so here we go. Mahayana Buddhism, also known as the Great Vehicle, is the form of Buddhism prominent in North Asia, including China, Mongolia, Tibet, Korea, and Japan. It's also very prevalent in Vietnam as well. Mahayana is one of the main existing branches of Buddhism, and the Sanskrit word Mahayana means great vehicle. The other existing branches of Buddhism are Theravada and Vajrayana, but under some classification. Vajrayana is classified as a part of Mahayana Buddhism. Mahayana refers to the path of Bodhisattva to attain the enlightenment, to help all the sentient beings from all sufferings and pain. This is called Bodhisattvayana, or the Bodhisattva vehicle. Over the years, the Mahayana subdivided into more schools which practices different doctrines and spread from India to China, Tibet, Korea, Japan, and thus became the dominant form of Buddhism. The people following and supporting Mahayana tradition is around 53.2% of the total Buddhism practitioners, and Theravada tradition is around 35.8%. And Vajrayana tradition is about 5.7%. There are many other traditions that follow the principle of Mahayana Buddhism. They are Zen, Chinese Chan, Pure Land, Nichiren, Tian Tai, Vajrayana according to some tradition, Tendai, and Tibetan Buddhism. The teaching of Mahayana is quite distinctive than that of Theravada. In Mahayana, bodhisattvas who are likely to manifest the great compassion postpone the final enlightenment to help and assist those beings still suffering from the cycle of rebirths. Mahayana Buddhism is sometimes interpreted as a more devotional form of Buddhism, since Buddha and Bodhisattva are greatly respected and worshipped. Origins. The origin of Mahayana Buddhism is still quite mysterious, but there are some views about the origins of Mahayana. It states that Mahayana emerged as a separate school from another existing school, Theravada, but some historical records show Mahayana had been developing long before that. Traces of Mahayana teachings appear already in the oldest Buddhist scriptures. Contemporary scholarship is inclined to view the transition to Mahayana as a gradual process hardly noticed by people at that time. During the 1st century BCE, the name Mahayana was found to distinguish the Mahayana tradition from Theravada tradition. Theravada was called Hinavana during the same century. These are the works of Buddhist monks who oppose the idea of attaining the enlightenment by oneself and accused Theravada of selfish tradition. During the time of early Mahayana Buddhism, the Mahayanists developed 4 major types of thought. Here they are. Number 1, Madhyamaka. Number 2, Yogacara. Number 3, Buddha nature. Number 4, Buddhist logic. The Bodhisattva ideal. The Mahayana is one of the 3 alternatives through which one can attain the state of nirvana. The Mahayana emphasizes on postponing one's liberation so that one may help, assist, and guide all the sentient beings to the state of nirvana. According to Mahayana teachings, a high-level bodhisattva possesses a mind of great compassion and wisdom. The most essential part of Mahayana is its emphasis on Bodhisattva ideal, which replaces that of the Arhat, or ranks before it. According to Mahayana teachings and practices, 6 perfections are needed to Bodhisattva. They are: number 1, perfection of giving or generosity; number 2, perfection of good conduct or behavior; number 3, perfection of patience; number 4, perfection of vigor and diligence; number 5, perfection of meditation; number 6, perfection of wisdom. Trikaya, or three-body doctrine. The concept of three-body doctrine of Buddha is purely Mahayana concept. Mahayana tradition believes that Lord Buddha have 3 bodies. They are Nirmanakaya body. It is also known as appearance body or material body of Shakyamuni Buddha. Then there's Dharmakaya body, also known as Dharma body, which refers that the eternal Dharma lies beyond all conceptions and dualities. Shambhogakaya body, also known as the bliss or enjoyment body in which Bodhisattva appears in a celestial realm. Okay, Agamas is a collection of early Buddhist scriptures. And so Agamas are scriptures. There are 5 Agamas in Buddhism, and together they comprise Sutta Pitaka of early Buddhist schools. The 5 Agamas are Dirgha Agama, long discourses; Madhyama Agama, middle-length discourses; Samyukta Agama, connected discourses; Ekotar Agama, numbered discourses; and Sudraka Agama, minor collection. 3 turning of wheels of Dharma. The turning of wheels of Dharma refers to understanding of a sutra of teachings of Lord Buddha, which was originally devised by Yogacarya school. The 3 turning of wheels of Dharma are as follows. Number 1 is the first turning, consists of teaching of 4 noble truths. Other elements of Tripitaka, it is Abhidharma, Sutra Pitaka, and Vinaya. It is said to have taken place at Deer Park at Sarnath. Then there's the second turning. That's number 2. Second turning mainly emphasis on emptiness and compassion, and these 2 elements form bodhicitta, which is an epitome of second turning. Second turning is said to have taken place at Vulture Park in Bihar. Then there's the third turning. Third turning mainly emphasis on Buddha nature and Tathagata Garbha doctrine. The third turning of wheels of Dharma is said to have taken place in Shravasti and other Indian locations such as Kushinagar. Alright, now that was just a kind of a brief rundown. It doesn't explain everything, of course. So I want to continue with this information here. So this is not particularly about Mahayana Buddhism, but it's just about Buddhism in general, and it's about references on animals from the Buddhist tradition. And here it says, it is important to remember that the term Buddhism encompasses a great variety of religious schools in many countries around the world, from Siam Nikaya Buddhism in Sri Lanka to Shingon Buddhism in Japan to Sokagaki Buddhism in the United States. Nevertheless, it can be said that every form of Buddhism emphasizes acting compassionately towards all life. This, of course, includes animal life. And here's a little biography about the Buddha. Buddhists are followers of the Buddha and his teachings. The Buddha was born Siddhartha Gautama in modern-day Nepal. Most scholars believe that he lived in the 6th or 5th century BCE. According to traditional biographies, Siddhartha was the son of King Suddhodana and Queen Mahamaya. One night, the queen dreamt of a white elephant. The elephant touched her side, and little Siddhartha was miraculously conceived. Seers and Brahmin scholars predicted that the unborn child would become either a great king or a great holy man. When Siddhartha was born, he pointed up with one hand and down with the other, signifying that he would unite heaven and earth. Then he took 7 steps, and with each step a lotus flower blossomed. Siddhartha proclaimed, "I alone am the world-honored one." Queen Mahamaya died soon after Siddhartha's birth. The king raised his son in their lavish palace and shielded the boy from the knowledge of human suffering. However, when Siddhartha was 29 years old, he went on several outings, leaving behind the protective walls of his palace. While traveling, he encountered an old man, a diseased man, and a decaying corpse. Siddhartha was deeply disturbed by these sights. He decided to escape royal life and become an ascetic. Siddhartha sought enlightenment through physical deprivation. He renounced worldly goods, fasted, and practiced self-mortification. However, after nearly dying from starvation, Siddhartha began to reevaluate his path. He discovered a middle way, a path of moderation between the extremes of self-indulgence and self-punishment. Siddhartha sat underneath a Bodhi tree and contemplated his life. After 49 days of meditation, he achieved enlightenment. He realized the cause of human suffering and the steps necessary to eliminate it. Siddhartha then became known as the Buddha, or the Awakened One. He began wandering, teaching his new doctrine, and assembling a religious community. Dharma, the Buddha's teachings. For 45 years, the Buddha traveled and shared his doctrine with all sorts of people, from nobles to outcasts. The most important teachings of the Buddha are the 4 Noble Truths. Number 1, suffering is an inherent part of existence. Number 2, the origin of suffering is the attachment to and craving of transient things. Number 3, suffering can be stopped. Number 4, following the Eightfold Path will lead to the cessation of suffering. Alright, now here is the Eightfold Path. Suffering can be ended and enlightenment attained through number 1, right view. Number 2, right intention. Number 3, right speech. Number 4, right action. Number 5, right livelihood. Number 6, right effort. Number 7, right mindfulness. Number 8, right concentration. Samsara means the miserable cycle of birth, life, death, and rebirth. And that is reincarnation. Karma is the total effect of a person's actions that determine his or her destiny in his or her next incarnation. Nirvana means the liberation from suffering, enlightenment achieved by following the 4 Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path brings about nirvana. The 5 precepts, the basic Buddhist codes of ethics undertaken by monks, nuns, and lay followers of Buddhism. And here are the 5 precepts. Number 1, abstain from injuring and killing living beings. This precept is referred to as ahimsa, means to do no harm. Number 2, abstain from stealing. Number 3, abstain from sexual misconduct. Number 4, abstain from lying. Number 5, abstain from intoxication. The number of Buddhists in the United States is approximately 2 million. The number of Buddhists worldwide is approximately 350 million. Some Buddhists believe that the distinction between self and other is unreal and therefore must be transcended. The differences between humans and animals are illusory. Human beings do not have a privileged, special place above and beyond that of the rest of life. Both are capable of thinking and feeling emotions. Most importantly, both possess the Buddha nature and can achieve enlightenment. However, other Buddhists contend that animals are intellectually and morally inferior. They consider rebirth as an animal in a very negative light. All Buddhists, though, understand that life is interconnected. Animals suffer and therefore should be objects of our compassion. There are many scriptural, historical, and contemporary examples of this call for compassion, the call for the humane treatment of animals. Sample statements by the Buddha. The Buddha constantly advocated for the humane treatment of animals. His statements were recorded in canonical scriptures called sutras. Here are some sutras. Let him not destroy, or cause to be destroyed, any life at all, nor sanction the acts of those who do so. Let him refrain from even hurting any creature, both those that are strong and those that tremble in the world. From the Sutta Nipata. There is not a single being wandering in the chains of lives in endless and beginningless samsara that has not been your mother or your sister. From the Angulimala Sutra. One must not deliberately kill any living creature either by committing the act oneself, instructing others to kill, or approving of or participating in acts of killing. From the first precept. Because he has pity on every living creature, therefore a man is called holy. From the Dhammapada. All beings tremble before violence, all fear death, all love life. See yourself in others, then whom can you hurt? From the Dhammapada. One who, while seeking happiness, oppresses with violence other living beings who also desire happiness, will not find happiness thereafter. From the Dhammapada. The eating of flesh extinguishes the seed of great compassion. From the Mahaparinirvana Sutra. Wicked people, hard to train, kill harmless beasts. From the Kalachakra Tantra. Your kith and kin in one existence, they have donned a different shape in later lives. They have become animals, wild or tame, beast or bird. All those who wish to follow in my footsteps, how could they consume the flesh of living beings? From the Lankavatara Sutra. Between the stench of the burning flesh of corpses and the burned flesh of a beast, there is no difference. Both are equally revolting. From the Lankavatara Sutra. It is unfitting, it is wrong for those engaged upon the Bodhisattva path to partake of meat, therefore they should abstain from it. From the Lankavatara Sutra. Bodhisattvas must shrink from meat as they would shrink from the flesh of their own children. From the Mahaparinirvana Sutra. One's own flesh and the flesh of others is the same, therefore the enlightened one eats no meat. From the Angulimala Sutra. If one eats meat, actions motivated by hatred are performed. From the Tantra of the Compassionate One, Churning of the Depths of Samsara. If one were to eat the flesh and blood still warm of animals that one has oneself slaughtered, one will be born in one's very next life in a hell of molten boiling bronze. From the Tantra of the Compassionate One, Churning the Depths of Samsara. If you eat intestines and the meat of dogs and swine, you will be reborn in an infernal state that is filled with filth. From the Sutra describing karmic cause and effect. Meat eating in any form, in any manner, and in any place is unconditionally and once and for all prohibited. From the Lankavatara Sutra. If one is trying to practice meditation and is still eating meat, he is like a man closing his ears and shouting loudly, and then asserting that he heard nothing. From the Sarangama Sutra. He who has given up harming creatures, whether feeble or strong, who neither kills nor causes to kill, him do I call a Brahmin. From the Dhammapada. In undertaking the 5 precepts, one gives freedom from danger, freedom from animosity, freedom from oppression, to limitless numbers of beings. In giving freedom from danger, freedom from animosity, freedom from oppression to limitless numbers of beings, one gains a share in limitless freedom from danger, freedom from animosity, and freedom from oppression. From the Abhisanda Sutta. Alright, here are some historical references on animals. Buddhism is ripe with examples of individuals, monastic communities, and even entire countries that have made references to animals in Buddhism or acted charitably towards animals. Ashoka, who ruled in the 3rd century BCE, was one of the greatest emperors of India and propagators of Buddhism. He frequently showed concern for animals. In the Edicts of Ashoka, he stated, "I have enforced the law against killing certain animals and many others, but the greatest progress of righteousness among men comes from the exhortation in favor of non-injury to life and abstinence from killing all living beings." Faxian was a famous Chinese Buddhist traveler during the 4th century CE. During one trip, he recorded, "The inhabitants of India are numerous and happy. Throughout the country, the people do not kill any living creature, nor drinking intoxicating liquor. They do not keep pigs and fowl, and do not sell live cattle. In the markets, there are no butcher shops and no dealers in intoxicating drink. Only the chandalas, the lowest caste, are fishermen and hunters and sell flesh meat." Japanese Emperor Temmu, who ruled during the 7th and 8th centuries, outlawed the consumption of all meat, including fish, in Japan. His proclamation had such a great impact that from the 8th century until the late 19th century, the eating of most meat was not permitted. Dojin was the founder of the Soto Zen school of Buddhism, the main sect of Zen Buddhism in the 12th century. He began requiring a vegan diet for all his students. Today, observant Zen practitioners still obey Dogen's decree. Shabkir Sogdrul Ringdrol was an 18th and 19th century Tibetan Buddhist master and poet. He announced, "Feeling unbearable compassion for all animals in the world who are killed for food, I went back before the Jowo Rinpoche, a great statue of the Buddha in Lhasa, prostrated myself and made this vow. From today on, I give up the negative act that is eating the flesh of beings." In To Cherish All Life, a Buddhist case for becoming vegetarian, Roshio Philip Kapleau, a 20th century American teacher of Zen Buddhism, wrote, "Anyone familiar with the numerous accounts of the Buddha's extraordinary compassion and reverence for living beings, for example, his insistence that his monks strain the water that they drink lest they inadvertently cause the death of any microorganisms, could never believe that he would be indifferent to the suffering of domestic animals caused by their slaughter for food." Alright, and then a little bit of contemporary references on animals. I think I'm going to begin a new video for that so this one doesn't get too long. So there will be a part 2 to this.